Hi guys, welcome to Learning Electronics Repair. And we have some more car booty, yeah. So what have we got this week? Well, I have a few machines like this. Well, have a look at this one. It came as a batch with a few that looked to be basically the same and another similar one. So we'll look at this one and the similar one, and let's see what we actually have here. So, beige case with a USB. Looks like this thing, yeah, folds up. You can't see it though, yeah, with USB on. Beige floppy, beige DVD-ROM, so it's not too old really. There's an extra USB down here at the bottom. Again, you can't see, so I'll show you there. A couple of things maybe being removed, and that's basically what it is. So, 4 USBs on here also. This again, you think it's like one of these P4 machines or maybe an AMD machine of like the same sort of vintage. So let's have a look to see what we actually have here. If you want to guess, guys, you know how it works. Get your guesses in now, because we're going to take the top off and have a look, yeah? There are some stickers on this. Windows XP Home Edition. There's a year. Oh, it has the password on. Look at that. This is the this is the administrator's password. That's good. That makes sense, yeah. And this is from Madrid. Okay, so what do we have? What's in the box? Well, it's an Intel machine. This is a 775 with AGP by the looks of it. Look at that. MSI motherboard. Socket LJ775 with AGP. Not so common, these. I can't particularly recall seeing any MSI ones. I've seen some ASRock ones like this and maybe some other brands. So that in itself is fairly rare. This has a hard drive in it. It's IDE. Something has been unplugged from here. Something has been unplugged from here. That must have had the data on. You can assume, yeah. So let's get the drive and the motherboard out of this one. Let's have a good look to see what we actually have here. So just a 40 gigabyte hard drive, IDE. This motherboard actually has SATA and IDE. Okay. It's probably a Pentium 4. There are some motherboards with AGP and 775 that will take a Core 2, but they're kind of like few and far between. I do have one, I have had them, but they're not common. But the ones that do hold a really good value. So this is probably a Pentium 4. MSI 7101 as the motherboard. MOSFETs are under here. I'm just looking to see where the capacitors are. You know, I think they're actually down under the heatsink. Yeah, they're down under the edge of the heatsink down here. The caps on the VRM, but the ones I can see look okay. The ones I can see look okay. This has another number, 865 GM3/V. That is also possibly the motherboard type. I've seen this a fair bit on MSI where they have 2 sets of numbers basically. Okay. Oh, in fact, look, it's there as well. So, yeah, it's that and it's that. So really, these are like the last of the AGP motherboards for CPU support. After this it was all PCIe, and I've just spotted there is a bad capacitor there, so we will change that. That looks like it's on the supply rail, yeah, going into the north, but you can see the thick heavy tracks heading this way, so That is probably powering the north bridge. It may well not work or be unstable, so we'll change that. Check, we don't have any shorts on the VRM. Okay. All the rest of the capacitors look okay, it's just this one. Which is clearly gone. What is this? 1500, 6.3. Okay, let's get this changed. Bit of flux, I think, will help here. Yeah, that made a difference. Okay. Just get hold of the capacitor. Pushed away from me. Wait a second. Move it towards me. It fell out. Simple as that, guys. Let's see if I can clear the solder from the holes just using braid. Save me powering up the vacuum desoldering tool. Let's see. Yeah. Usually one will and one won't. Yeah, that's what normally happens. Because one will have like a heavy ground or power plane on it basically, which the other one doesn't have. Let's just try a little bit of persuasion. Give the area a good warm. Okay. A bit of fresh solder, I think. And we'll go again. Yep, there you go. That's all we needed. Okay. Same technique then when soldering it, because I couldn't get enough heat into the board to get the solder to flow properly. Well, that I think will be good. Let's see if this works. So power on, and nothing happened. Okay, nothing happened. Oh, that made a noise because the wire was stuck in the fan. Oh, and off it's gone again. And it's back on, booting up on its own. Probably a RAM problem, long bleep like that. Yeah, this sounds like it has some issue with the RAM. Just reset it first. Okay. Obviously a different BIOS here because we don't have that familiar C0, C1 error code. That is really tight actually. Will not go in easily at all. Just get the wire out of my way a little bit. Okay. Right. I'll probably end up cleaning those. They feel a bit sticky. You see, this is the C1 code that you normally expect to get with RAM. C1 AF. And stopping on that one. But it's not bleeping anymore. Let's just connect the monitor. Switch the monitor to VGA. I'm saying no signal. Okay, so it's not booting up. Let's change the CMOS battery. I'm sure that's flat, I can just check it. And also we'll clean the RAM slots if that doesn't help. Yeah, I mean that's completely flat. Okay. Yeah, 3.3 looks good. What does it do now? Back to the bleeping this time. Long bleep. Okay. Take this out. Same. Try it without. This might stop on the C0 or C1 now. Oh, E0. Okay, so E0 with no RAM. I'll put the different one in that slot. And it boots. Okay, and we have a picture. So, processor is a Pentium 4, as I thought it would be. This 865 chipset, I'm not sure if it actually works with Core 2. We'll look in a bit. We'll get the CPU support list if we can find it, okay? So that RAM works in there. Does it work in the other slot? Okay. Let's have a look. Yes. So I have one strip of RAM that works in both slots. Let's try the other one. Yeah, and that one doesn't work. Oh, it works in that slot. Okay, so I think what I need to do is just clean the RAM slots on this, and this will probably work in both as well. That one must just be a bit grubby, I think. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, that did the trick. So I now have both strips of RAM in there, and we can see they're both being recognised. Let's see if we can boot into the OS on this. I'm interested to see what they were using these machines for, because I have quite a number of very similar looking ones. The drive's making sort of clicky noises. Ah, this has BusyBox Ubuntu built-in shell. So this has a form of Linux on it. You know, BusyBox is something that I recall was something to do with satellite receivers, actually. I think the Dreambox ran this BusyBox thing. Okay, so it has Linux on it. So basically the value of this board will come down to the CPU that it supports or doesn't. And if we have a look, and we can see that this doesn't support Celeron, it does support Celeron D, or some of them, okay. It doesn't support Core 2 Duo or Dual Core, which will limit the value of it. It does support Pentium 4, which is what's in there, okay? So that is basically the support we have on this motherboard. I would suspect that probably means this is worth something the same price as a 478 Pentium 4, so about £40, but could be wrong, yeah, let's see. I've just jumped over to the other side of the screen because you guys can never see where I get into the sold listings if you didn't know, so now you will. So I'm searching for that number 865GM 3-V, doesn't find anything. I can try the other number, so MS-7101. See if that gets anywhere. Again, nope. Oh, yes, maybe. Mine has 2 slots there, so it's not that one. No. So to get into the sold listings, we go to advanced. And then just the keyword will already be there. Sold items, search. One sold 15th of June for £78. So worth more than I thought. That is exactly the motherboard. Okay, so one did sell. And we can't argue with that. It's sold at that price. If it was a offer where it says all best offer, it puts like a line through, a green line through, so you know it was actually an offer. So that looks like it's sold at the asking price. We can try the other model number in here as well. And it's the same one because it lists them both. Okay. So that motherboard, £78. About £80. That's quite decent actually. A bit more than I expected it was worth. So for what I paid, €20 for that machine, that's pretty good. I think you'll agree. And here's another machine. So this came in the same batch. It looks to be the same. Certainly the same case, but I actually know it's not the same because this machine didn't have the side on. That's how it came. I kind of assumed the other ones were probably the same as this one, and clearly they're not from the last machine we just looked at. Okay, so we have another MSI motherboard, 865G Neo 2P. Completely different looking heatsink on this one. And this has a little add-on card. I think it's one of those. Like a strange sort of LAN card, but I'm not sure it is. Oh, this will be a Wi-Fi card, just missing the antenna. Okay, so let's get this one apart and let's see how this compares to the previous machine. Okay, so this was the wireless LAN card that was in there, 54 megabits per second. Okay, don't think that's really of any particular use. This is the motherboard. So this is an Intel chipset. So obviously this is an Intel processor. That's a bit of an odd looking heatsink. Again, this is 865, which if that's to do with the chipset, you'd expect this to be a similar sort of thing, but this looks more like a socket 478. Let's see if we can just get that to come off. Okay. Yeah, it's a socket 478 Pentium 4 machine, just a slightly unusual style heatsink on there. What speed is this processor? Let's have a look. A 3 gig. Again, these are not really worth anything, maybe £10, but a 3.4 is like 100. So this could actually be quite an interesting comparison because we have two similar motherboards, both MSI, probably not much age difference between them. This is the socket 478, the other one was the LGA 775, and they both take Pentium 4s, just a different type of socket Pentium 4s. So it'd be interesting to see if there's any difference in value. If I'm guessing, and I am guessing, the other one is worth more, but we'll find out. First of all, let's see if this one is working. All these capacitors look nice on this. Yeah, they all look good. This looks good. The whole board looks quite nice on this actually. It's a bit dusty, but other than that, not in bad condition. 4 DIMMs on this one. Okay. More PCI slots on this one. Right, let's have a look. Well, one side of this will be ground anyway. Yeah, the other one's climbing up, so no shorts on this one, at least on the VRM. Let's see. It's booting. No bleeps. I think this might actually be booting up, so I will attach the monitor and let's see if we get a picture out of it. In fact, it's restarted by itself. That's before it did anything. In fact, no, it's switched off by itself. And now it doesn't want to switch on again. I'll switch the main power off. On. Maybe that was just a dodgy switch actually, so it's been a little bit temperamental, this switch. Yeah, it's booting again. And it switched off again. I'm going to attach the monitor to this one. Okay. Well, whatever's going on with this, it now doesn't want to start at all. Okay. It's obviously doing something, but I don't have a picture. Oh, maybe I do have a picture. One moment. No, I don't have a picture, okay? This is still in this crazy loop, and now it's switched off. Okay. It does restart, so it was just the switch was a little bit dodgy. You see, it switches off. Let's take some of the RAM out. First. In fact, let's take all of the RAM out and see what it does. Okay. Power on. Seems to keep coming back to this. It's not bleeping, but it clearly sees that as an error. doesn't try to switch. Oh, it does switch off after so many times. So it's like this BIOS. If it reaches something it can't deal with, it just switches off. Just stick one strip of RAM in, which is in slot DIMM 1. Okay. Right. And switches off. I'll clean the RAM slots because that is a very common problem as we find. You know that from my videos. Let's see if that helps. Okay, so I've tried a few different combinations of RAM in just slot 1 or slot 1 and 2 as I'm using now. Doesn't really seem to make any difference. It gets stuck in this loop and then eventually just switches off like so. Let's just change the CMOS battery. I'm pretty sure this will be flat. I can check first. Yeah, it's 2.7. Anything less than 3 is no good. Okay, so that's good. 3.3. Power on. On off switch is still temperamental. I'll have to get myself a new one. Oh, interesting. So I've changed the CMOS battery. Now it goes to FF. Or 0. So, interestingly, I've put a CMOS battery in. And now, well, you saw what it was doing. Yeah, you saw what it was doing. Let me just switch cameras so you can see what it's doing now. So it's running around this loop to D4. Okay. No video coming out. I'll try resetting the CPU. I mean, I can try another CPU also. I suspect this is going to switch off. Yep, switched itself off. It doesn't switch back on again, by the way. You have to just press the button if you want to start it again. Turn the power off. Let's just try this in another slot as well, just to see. I mean, I know sometimes strange things happen with this. Didn't boot. Power on again. Booting. Okay, that's stuck in the same loop. Okay, go again. Doesn't want to boot. Same. That's after resetting the CPU. Well, now it seems to have settled down. So basically, D4. This is a AMI BIOS. So D4. Returning to real mode, executing any OEM patches and setting the stat next. Okay. I have on rare occasion known this card to stop a motherboard from booting, interestingly enough. So we can't see anything now, but if we're lucky, we might get a picture. Obviously not that lucky. Okay. The monitor is on VGA. Let's see if it shuts down. Although I think it might have stopped doing that actually. You'll notice I have a single strip of RAM in now, and this is a different strip than the other two we were trying. Okay, doesn't seem to shut down anymore. Okay. Something is getting rather warm down here. You know, guys, I think this might be the time for the thermal camera, okay? Well, you can see something down here is getting really quite warm. Seems to be a MOSFET or something over here. Let's switch it on. See if we can start it. Okay, it's running. What we got? Well, we have... Let's see where my finger is. This is the SIO, so above that. This one is at 60 something degrees. This one about 60 degrees. So that's these two MOSFETs. What do they control? Let's just see if anything else is getting hot on here. This is the VRM. So 40 degrees. I mean, that's what you'd expect. That's fairly normal. These are much too hot. That's the audio chip, but it's only 39. That's 37. Just show you guys, okay. That's actually the BIOS chip, 40. So interestingly, I have a couple of MOSFETs that are about 70 degrees now. I mean, that is too hot. $73. A little bit cooler that one, but not much. 68. So let's just measure the voltages around those. Let's see what they supply. 3.3, that could be the supply coming in actually. 5, 2.5, and the other one 2.5, 4, 1.5. So this is a 1.5 supply. That, yeah, that looks like it goes under here. That north bridge isn't particularly warm, but it has a big heatsink on it. Let's just remove that. But I think we can say pretty much this one has a chipset fault. And that's what that's providing, I think. So it looks like we're coming from 3.3 down to 2.5, and then 2.5 down to 1.5, okay. Okay, so they're both getting hot. From what I can see, one of these has the 3.3 coming in and gives a 2.5 out, and the 2.5 out powers the other one, which then steps it down to 1.5. This one's getting the hottest, but they're both getting very hot. Now, I'm thinking that probably 1.5 supplies the north bridge. And on the north bridge, I've taken off the heatsink. We can kind of see where the track comes in this direction. There's another regulator there as well. Okay, so on here we have capacitors. If I am on resistance range right now, okay. So 60 ohms, that is quite possibly ground. I'm probably reading, yeah, the resistance from here to ground is 60. So I'm just on the ground side of a capacitor here. 82. 82. I'm trying to see if it goes directly to here. Yeah, it goes there. So that is supply rail to the north bridge. I didn't particularly see it getting hot, but it did have a heatsink on. But I think we can say anyway, if something's drawing a lot of power on that rail and it's powering the north bridge, this has a chipset fault, which is why it's stuck in this loop. Seems extremely likely. Let's just try the thermal camera without the heatsink on. Obviously, this thing's going to warm up quite a bit, but I want to see if it gets like really, really hot. And we might even be able to see if it gets really hot on this corner of it. Because this will have a number of other supply voltages as well. It will have a supply which will be the same as VCore, amongst others. It'll probably have, in fact, we'll have a supply the same as the RAM, because it's talking to all these things, okay? So, there it is. I have my finger on the actual die, okay? Let's see what happens. So, power on. Start. Oh. Well, we know it's going to get warm anyway. It's not getting overly hot, 55 degrees. I mean, it doesn't have the heatsink on, so it's definitely going to warm up. Okay. We can put this thing back onto it. Also, by the way, if you notice, like, the pad here is like burnt away on this. Obviously, this will also affect the chip as well, not properly cooled. Okay. I'll just look if anything else is getting hot. This looks hot, but it's only 30 odd degrees. $40 something. Yeah, and these things, they're just too hot, okay? So the thermal camera is telling us that something on this voltage rail is drawing too much power. We can see it does go to here. The way this is behaving, I think, is just a communication problem from the processor. So I'm confident enough to say from that this has a chipset fault. So this is not one we can repair, unfortunately. But we can have a look, just to see out of interest, I mentioned before, whether this is actually a more valuable board, if it was working, than that other one. So we're still in the sold listings at the moment. Let's have a look in here. 865G Neo 2-P. Okay. Well, So one sold, you see the line through there, that means a best offer was accepted. In fact, it says best offer accepted, so we can't say exactly. Another one sold for 71, so we can assume it might have sold for something like that, which means in actual fact both motherboards are worth about the same, or they would be if this one didn't have a faulty chipset. Well, that's a sod's law, but you know, that's €40 for two machines. One of them is working and the board's worth about £80, so that's a double your money or so when you convert from pounds to euros. That's not too bad. So hope you enjoyed that regardless. It was a bit of fun. At least we kind of figured out what was wrong with this one. And I look forward to seeing you all again soon on another Learning Electronics Repair video. Ciao for now, guys.